Do you know how to identify, prevent, and treat hypothermia? Stick around and we'll talk about it. Hi, my name's Matt. Thanks for checking out this video. Today we're going to be talking about hypothermia. We're going to talk about what hypothermia is, how to identify it, and how to treat it. Stay tuned. So what is hypothermia? Hypothermia is an abnormally low body temperature, typically one that is severely low, dangerously low. So as you can see, I have written here, we have the normal core body temperature of our body, which is 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit. There are three different variations of hypothermia. We have mild, moderate to severe. Mild is going to be between 93 and 95 degrees Fahrenheit. Moderate is between 86 and 93 degrees Fahrenheit, and severe is anything below 86 degrees Fahrenheit. What happens to your body when you start to become hypothermic? Well, when your body recognizes that you're getting colder, it starts to constrict all those blood vessels in your extremities, so your arms and your legs, and it pushes all that warm blood to your core, where all your vital organs are at. It does this to try to preserve itself. Potentially, as you progress through these different stages of hypothermia, your different organs and everything are going to potentially start to shut down and eventually can and will lead to death. So you're going to start to see the risk of hypothermia starting in cold temperatures. Anything in the upper 40s and lower, you could potentially start to see signs and symptoms of hypothermia. Obviously, that's going to vary depending on how prepared you are and other inclement weather that's going on at the time. Who's the most susceptible to hypothermia? Well, typically it's going to be elderly people, children, and drug and alcohol users. Well, why? So elderly people and children kind of get lumped together because as you get towards the end of life, your body's regulatory mechanisms start to degrade and they're not doing as well. And on the opposite, when you're a child, those body's regulatory mechanisms aren't quite developed as an adult, so they have a hard time maintaining their core body temperature. And when it comes to alcohol and drugs, you're not in your right mind. It affects you physiologically and psychologically, so where you don't feel the cold. So when you're out and if you are under the influence of something, you might not recognize that, hey, I'm getting cold until it's too late or it's too severe to come back from. So what are the signs and symptoms of hypothermia? I want to preface this by saying there's no correlation between a specific sign or symptom and a specific core body temperature. Everyone's different. Their experiences with this could be different. You might experience all of these or you might experience none of these. It's going to vary from person to person. With that being said, some of the stuff we're going to be looking for is going to be shivering. Shivering is going to be probably the body's first mechanism to try to mitigate the hypothermia by trying to keep itself warm. That's the whole point of shivering. After that, you could potentially be seeing some memory loss, some confusion, some slurred speech. And then it can progress into the loss of fine motor skills and gross motor skills. Typically, you'll see the fine motor skills go first, and then the gross motor skills after that. And one of the most severe and concerning is when people stop shivering. Typically, when someone stops shivering, that means their body's not able to compensate anymore, and it's in that process of beginning to shut down. What are we going to want to do if we recognize someone having any of these signs and symptoms of hypothermia? Well, we want to remove them from whatever environment they're in. If they're outside and it's cold and snowy, bring them into the warm environment. You want to remove any wet clothing because that can just increase those chances of hypothermia. We'll want to focus on warming that patient's core up. We want to do that by using blankets, sitting by a fireplace. If you have to, we can put heat packs in the neck, the armpits, and the groin to try to warm them up. We can consider warm fluids. We want to stay away from anything alcoholic or caffeinated because those can actually dilate the blood vessels and send that really cold blood into the core, which is just going to hurt the patient rather than help them. And then lastly, let's talk about, if any of this happens, we want to seek medical attention. If it's mild and you think you can handle it on your own, that's fine. But if it's something more severe or something you don't feel comfortable taking care of, make sure you're contacting 911, taking the person to the hospital, making sure they get somewhere where they can be treated efficiently and appropriately so that it's not going to cause more damage in the long run. So how are we going to prepare and prevent hypothermia? Well, first off, we want to dress in appropriate clothing. If you're going outside, probably wear something more than shorts and a t-shirt. If it's snowing, it's windy, it's cold. Right now, it's like negative 18 degrees outside with a wind chill. I'm not gonna go outside in shorts and a t-shirt. I'm gonna layer up and make sure you're layering appropriately. Have access to shelter. If you know you're gonna go outside or go do something outside when you're in these conditions, make sure there is somewhere you can get to in case you start to get too cold. Whether that be a building, a store, your car, it doesn't matter as long as you have somewhere to go. And if you're gonna be by water, make sure you're wearing a life jacket, because if anything happens and you fall into the water, those stages of hypothermia are just gonna happen all that much quicker and are extremely dangerous. And lastly, we wanna just eliminate going outside in any sort of inclement extreme events. If it's negatives, whatever degrees, just stay inside. It's not worth risking your life over. If you enjoyed this video and would like to see more content like this, please like this video and subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you on the next video.